everything was okay. But then the rustling stopped, and only a moment later, there was a knock at the
Don't
door.
go to investigate, please. This is not Scooby-Doo.
I stood still at the
You're
end
not
of the
Scooby-Doo.
hallway and stared
Don't
at the front
investigate,
door,
just
terrified
go
of
to your
whoever
room
was out there.
and ring the police.
After a few
How you lot doing? I'm doing good, thanks for asking. Why am I smiling so much? Because today we're gonna be reacting to some horror. I don't know about you, but me, I love a good horror movie and a good horror story. And I feel like I've been doing so much music reactions and Family Guy's reactions that I don't think it's fair to the people out there waiting for me to do a horror. So I'm just giving you what you want. So don't get scared, alright? Before we get into the video though, make sure you like and subscribe. We're just trying to get some more followers out here. And of course, with some horror, you have to have your water. So I got mine right here. Let's get into it.
I was at home for 3 days for a mini stay-at-home vacation from work. I live in a very rural area, about an hour from the city.
I can relate.
Honestly, I hadn't really taken these days off for any particular reason. I guess I was just feeling like I needed a break. It was on my first day off as I stayed at home and watched TV, among doing some other small things around the house. Around dinner time though, a knock came from the front door. I sat up from the couch and looked at the clock, seeing it was 7 p.m. It was strange for anyone to be at my house in general, but given the time as well, it was even more so.
Or at least check before you open it.
I walked up to the door and cracked it open. A man was on the doorstep, smiling at me. He looked like any other guy, no special features or anything. "What do you need?" I asked, looking around behind him and noticing no car or truck in my driveway. The man maintained his smile as he went through a whole scenario he was in just a few minutes ago.
Personally,
He said he was on the road that connected to my driveway when someone slammed into his car and drove off, leaving him stranded and having to come to me for help. The way he described it, and just from looking at him, things didn't seem to add up.
Don't believe that little stop story.
My driveway was far from the road, and the chances he got into an accident right by the entrance was almost zero on such an empty road. I told him I'd call the police for him if he'd like, but the man declined. He said he wanted to borrow my phone to call his wife.
To get out.
It took me a few seconds to respond because being unsure about the situation made me nervous to say no to him. I said I would call the police and that was it, but the man's smile went away as he said don't worry about it and walked away from the porch. I closed the door, then looked out the window as the man walked down the driveway and disappeared in the dark. After a moment, I called the police just to be safe. About 20 minutes later though, I got a call back from them saying there were no signs of any crashes on the road.
20 minutes!
I stayed up late that night, looking out the windows.
So you're telling me if I was getting chased by somebody with a knife or somebody was after me and I was hiding somewhere, the police is going to take 20 minutes to come?
I went upstairs to my bedroom
might as well
and
just
got
die.
ready, then got in bed and fell fast asleep. I remember waking up frantically, but not understanding why. Like maybe I'd heard something in my sleep, but didn't wake up fast enough to comprehend it. Looking over, it was about 3 a.m. I got up from my bed and walked over to the door so I could listen for any sounds in the rest of the house. It was mostly quiet, but I could hear a slight rustling sound from somewhere outside. I carefully walked down the stairs to check on it, thinking it was probably just a bush brushing against the house. But as I got to the downstairs hallway, I realized the sound was moving. It was going along the edge of the house and toward the front. I felt my heart start racing as I tried to reassure myself everything was okay. But then the rustling stopped, and only a moment later, there was a knock at the door.
Don't go to investigate, please. This is not Scooby-Doo.
I stood still at the end of the hallway and stared at the front door, terrified of whoever was out there.
and ring the police.
After a few seconds,
Or if you have a
I
friend,
moved
you know,
away
bring a
and
friend.
up
I
to a
don't know,
small window
but
on the side of the
we'll
house
investigate.
that had a view of the porch. Through the blinds, I could see two men, both in dark clothing, and
Okay.
both holding something in their hands. It looked like tools or weapons of some kind. My eyes widened in fear as I backed away and quietly walked back up to my room. More knocking echoed through the house as I called the
Don't open
police
it.
and locked myself in. As I stayed on the phone, the knocks turned into banging thuds, and I immediately knew it was what I feared. They were trying to break the door down. Hit after hit, non-stop for over 5 minutes, they banged on the door, shaking the whole house. Then the operator on the phone finally said an officer was pulling up to my house, and at that same time, all the banging stopped. When the cop pulled up though, he said he didn't see any men at my door. They must have run off just before he could see them. The door, however, was barely hanging on. The wood was bent and splintered, with only the bolt lock still in place.
At
I
least
was
you're still
lucky
safe.
that the police were able to show
Wait,
up
wait,
quick
wait,
enough,
what's that little shadow
but I
there?
guess I was also smart
I
to
think
have not
you've seen
helped
it.
that one man. I'm assuming if I had, I would have only accelerated their plans to do whatever it was they were trying to do. Even today though, I still worry about them coming back.
I'll give that story a 4 out of 10 just because it wasn't really scary. It was more interesting, I guess. But yeah, and just because I love you guys so much, I'm gonna do a part 2 right here. Because what's the point of waiting for another video? You know what I'm saying? Let's go for part 2. The thing is though, what I would say is he was smart for peeping out the window and checking who he was. Because me personally, I would just go to my room and call the police. Yeah. You know them girls in like horror movies, how they be tripping over everything and investigating and thinking they're Sherlock Holmes. That's how they die quickly. But at least he knew it wasn't a movie, so he used his brain. Alright, okay, let's go watch the next one now.
A year ago, in midwinter, I was staying at an Airbnb on the east coast of the US.
Okay.
I had a family member that was sick, and I wanted to be nearby for a few weeks in case of any emergencies.
Oh, that's nice.
While staying there, I figured I might as well make a vacation of it, since I'd really be doing nothing else. So the Airbnb I got was a modern cabin with a small lake behind it.
Oh, wow.
Most of the area around was a forest as well, so it was really nice and a very different landscape from where I lived. Anyway, about a week after I'd gotten there, I rented out some camping equipment and thought it'd be nice to go out by the lake and maybe spend a night on the beach.
Not by yourself.
The Airbnb was only a short walk away, if there was any trouble, so it wasn't really much of an adventure. I just wanted
Okay,
to lay
fair
out
enough.
by the stars and
Still
clear my
wouldn't go
head,
by
I
myself,
guess.
though.
I made a few walks out to bring all the equipment, then
Not
set up the
tenting.
tent.
What's the point to
It was
tent if you
actually
got a
really
whole
easy
apartment
because it was
there?
made for beginners.
Doesn't make sense.
So I had plenty of time to get everything else set up, as well as a rock circle for the campfire.
You see, don't
Once that
things
was
like
all
this
done,
ones get
I
you
kicked
killed.
back and
Like,
relaxed, sipping on a beer as I watched the sunset.
what's the... Nah.
The calm sound of the
like going
campfire,
swimming at
along
night
with
by
the
yourself.
forest, was
Doesn't
something
make
I'd miss,
sense.
having lived in a big city for so many years. But maybe 20 or so minutes after the sun had set, I was caught off guard by a guy walking up to my campsite.
Of course.
I stood up as a natural reaction, but the man seemed to see my worriness as he stopped walking and put his hands up, apologizing for the scare. He was about the same age as me, mid-30s, but was very tall and skinny.
Skinny?
I looked past him at the
He looks more
forest he
jacked
came
than me.
from.
Skinny.
There was no path that I could see. It was just a bunch of trees that backed up to the lake. Where did you come from? The man made a short grin as he said he was just staying in a place on the other side of the lake and saw my campfire, so he thought he'd come out and have a beer with me. I gave a nervous smile, as
That
that
makes
wasn't
sense.
exactly a normal thing to do, way out in the middle of a forest, and on second thought, I was pretty sure there were no houses on the other side of the lake. I'm actually not looking for company right now. Sorry, I said politely, hoping this could be a quick, harmless interaction. The guy seemed almost puzzled by my response, as his grin went down to a straight face. He glanced at the Airbnb that was behind me and stayed quiet. Then, after a few moments of silence, he said okay and walked back the way he came. I watched, trying to keep track of him to see where exactly he was walking to, but he faded out into the darkness of the woods without any flashlight.
Without any
Pretty
flashlight.
unnerved,
Is
I
he an
decided
owl
to
or
grab most of
something?
my stuff and haul it back to the Airbnb, not wanting to risk being outside with that guy around.
Yes.
Trying to carry everything at once, though, was a bad move on my part, exhausting me after only getting halfway to the house. And just as soon as I stopped for a breather, I heard heavy footsteps coming from the woods.
Run!
Turned, seeing the man storming straight out of the tree line.
Run! What are you standing there for? Run, man!
Insanity in his eyes. I dropped everything and tried to run, but immediately got knocked to the ground. From the speed he tackled me at, we both tumbled on the grass, and I somehow managed to get on my feet before he could get a hold of me again. The guy followed close behind though, even close enough to grab my shirt a few times in an effort to stop me.
He's fast
When I got
as
to
hell.
the house, I knew I'd have no time to unlock the door.
You see,
so I
I'll
had
never
to
have
go
this
straight
problem
for
because
my
if I
car.
run, you're never
I
catching me.
pulled the keys out of my
Unlike him.
pocket as I
So
ran up
ass.
to it, getting inside and locking it just before he got to the door. I turned it on and put it in reverse as the man slammed his fists into the window, shattering
he's
it with
persistent.
just a couple punches. He reached in and grabbed my arm.
So
as
how
I
did you
backed
get
up,
away?
swinging
He broke
the
a car
front of the
window with
car
a
in
couple.
his direction.
Bang, bang. Just bang,
It
bang.
must have caught him by surprise because
There's
he
no
didn't
way you
move
could have got
fast
away.
enough to get out of the way. All I saw was his body slam onto the ground and not get up as I drove away. I
That's
called for help immediately while I drove, wanting the police to get there quickly to get some answers out of him. But when they got there, the man was gone. All that was left were some shoe prints leading back into the woods.
Okay. That story low-key did not make sense. One, why would you go camping by yourself? Wow, you're staying with family. Ask your family to come with you. Two, he broke a car window with a couple of punches. So how did you get away? I mean, it was smart. Take the car, so he got away with the car because he sure wasn't getting away with running. So you saw how slow he was. They got caught up 2 times. Or was it 3 times? I don't know, but oh man, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I'll rate this one a 5 out of 10 just because he had a close to death moment, unlike the other one. Let me know what you guys think in a comment, and of course, before you leave, make sure you subscribe and come again next time. And if you like, comment down what I should react to next. Because right now, and I may just do it. I may just, maybe not, but I may just. So yeah, see you guys next time.